She couldn't reach the receptionist's desk, so she stood on her tiptoes and slid her resume across the counter. "I'm here to apply," the little girl said, her voice barely louder than a whisper. The staff exchanged puzzled glances, unsure whether to laugh or call security. But before anyone could stop her, she marched into the CEO's office like she belonged there. What she said next made the millionaire CEO's eyes fill with tears. The receptionist blinked, unsure whether she was seeing things. A little girl, no older than 7, stood confidently in the lobby of one of the city's largest tech empires. Dressed in a neatly pressed blouse, mismatched socks, and a sparkly unicorn backpack, she carried a single sheet of paper with careful handwriting and colored borders. "I'm here to apply for a job," she said, sliding the paper across the counter. "I want to help." The room fell silent. Amused murmurs rippled through the office. An assistant crouched beside her. "Sweetheart, are you lost?" She shook her head. "My mom said I should always try, even if people think I'm too small." Security was called, but so was someone else, the CEO himself. Curious and slightly amused, he came down from the top floor. When he saw her, something shifted in his eyes. She held out her paper. "This is my resume. I know how to fix things, and I'm good at cheering people up. My mom used to work here before she got sick." He took the paper gently, his hands suddenly heavy. At the bottom of the resume was a single line, written in crayon. "I want to make people smile the way my mom used to smile when she worked here." The CEO froze. Memories flooded back of laughter, of an employee who always stayed late to help, who once told him she believed in what they were building. His throat tightened. He knelt down, met the little girl's eyes, and whispered, "You're hired." No, she wouldn't be leading any projects. But that day, she reminded an empire what it was built on: hope, heart, and the courage to show up even when you're the smallest in the room. It was just another Monday morning when the CEO glanced at the commotion near reception. His staff was clustered around something or someone unusual. Curious, he stepped out of his glass-walled office to take a look. There, standing barely 3 feet tall, was a little girl in a blue dress, gripping a single sheet of paper and a lopsided lunchbox. Her hair was tied in uneven pigtails, and her shoes were worn, but she held herself with surprising confidence. "I'm here for the job," she said, lifting the paper up to him as he approached. The CEO blinked, baffled. "What job, sweetheart?" "The one my mom used to have. She said this place made her happy." He took the paper, her resume handwritten in purple marker. It listed skills like good listener, knows how to make pancakes, and gives great hugs. But it was the last line that punched the air from his lungs. "I want to help people smile again. Just like she did before she went to heaven." Silence fell around them. The CEO remembered her mother, bright, kind, full of warmth. She'd been one of the company's first hires. When she passed from cancer last year, the whole office felt the loss, but no one spoke of it much anymore. Until now. He knelt, eyes misted, and looked into the girl's unwavering gaze. "Thank you for coming in today," he said softly. "You've reminded us all what matters." He offered her a badge labeled Honorary Employee. It wasn't a real job, but it was a real promise to lead with heart, to care deeply, to remember the people behind the work. And in that moment, a billion-dollar CEO was humbled not by a boardroom, but by a child's quiet, honest courage. No one saw her come in. She was just there, standing in the towering lobby of a Fortune 500 headquarters, holding a single sheet of paper and wearing a determined expression that didn't quite match her tiny frame. A security guard started toward her, but she raised a hand like she owned the place. "I have an appointment," she said, confidently. "With the boss." The receptionist blinked. "And, who are you?" "I'm the applicant." Her tone left no room for questions. Amused and unsure what else to do, someone buzzed upstairs. The CEO, deep in back-to-back meetings, nearly declined. But something, curiosity, instinct, made him say, "Send her in." She walked into his sleek office like it was her playground. No hesitation. No fear. Just a spark in her eye and a folded paper clutched to her chest. I'm here to apply, she said. He tried to smile. Apply for what, exactly? For my mom's job. His expression shifted. She placed her resume on his desk. Handwritten, decorated with stars, and full of childlike charm. But none of it prepared him for the final line, the one that made him stop breathing. If I work here, maybe you'll remember her. Silence. The girl stood there, eyes steady. He looked at the name at the top of the resume, familiar, buried under months of progress reports and quarterly goals. He remembered. Her laughter, her loyalty, her fight until the very end. One sentence had cut through the noise, the numbers, the numbness. One sentence brought it all back. He didn't say much. Just walked around the desk, knelt beside her, and whispered, I remember. And I won't forget again. Because sometimes, it takes a child's words to wake a grown man's heart. He was known as the Iron Boss. Unshakable in negotiations. Feared in boardrooms. Revered for turning failing companies into gold. No one had ever seen him flinch, let alone cry. That changed the morning a little girl wandered into his office. She bypassed security with surprising ease, helped by a sympathetic janitor who assumed she was someone's kid. But she wasn't lost. She walked straight to the top floor, holding a piece of paper covered in colorful crayon handwriting. The CEO looked up from his emails, annoyed. Whose child is this? I came for the job, she said, placing the paper on his mahogany desk. He stared at her, more confused than irritated now. Job? It was my mommy's. Before she got sick. He glanced at the paper. A resume? Of sorts. It listed odd qualifications, makes the best bedtime stories, knows how to listen, keeps secrets safe. And then, the last line, underlined twice. She said this job made her feel like she mattered. I want to feel that too. He froze. Her name. Her mother's name. He remembered the employee, quiet, steady, kind. She never asked for much. She just gave. Even while sick, she gave. He hadn't noticed when she stopped showing up. No one told him when she passed. Now here was her daughter, standing like a mirror to his own humanity. The room felt smaller. The desk felt higher. And for the first time in his storied career, his eyes burned, his throat tightened, and a tear rolled down his cheek, silent and uninvited. He walked around the desk, knelt down, and hugged her. Not for her sake. For his. Because sometimes, it takes the smallest voice to remind the greatest leaders what truly matters. The automatic doors whooshed open, and in walked ambition wrapped in pigtails. She couldn't have been more than 6, with scuffed sneakers, a sparkly notebook, and a smile wide enough to light up the skyscraper's lobby. The receptionist leaned forward. Can I help you, sweetheart? Yes, the girl said, placing her glittery folder on the desk. I'm here to apply for a job. A pause. A stifled chuckle from a nearby intern. But the girl didn't flinch. She smoothed her dress and added, I'm very qualified. They humored her, if only out of curiosity. Minutes later, she was in the elevator, rising to the top floor, an odd sight in a sea of tailored suits and polished leather shoes. When the CEO looked up and saw her enter, he blinked. Lost? No, she said brightly. Prepared. She handed him the notebook. Inside, crayon bullet points, smiley faces, and a simple list of what she could offer, creative ideas. Excellent snack sharing. Big heart. Brave spirit. Then the final line, under a bold rainbow. Because when my mom worked here, she said dreams live on this floor. I want to meet them. He stared at the page. Then at her. Something in his chest cracked open, a feeling he hadn't felt in years. He stood slowly, a grin tugging at the edges of his serious face. Well then, he said, we better make some room for your dream. That day, meetings paused. Deadlines softened. And the building buzzed with something money couldn't buy. Because inspiration had arrived not in a limo, not in a pitch deck, but in a girl with pigtails, courage in her step, and stars in her notebook. Sometimes, the biggest dreams come in the smallest packages. He had built his life like he built his company, brick by brick, deal by deal, wall by wall. Success was measurable: numbers, awards, headlines. Feelings were distractions. Empathy? A liability. That's what he believed, until the morning a little girl walked into his office holding a resume made of construction paper and hope. She wore a patched-up sweater, her shoes a bit too big. But her voice didn't shake. "My name is Lily. I want to work here. This is my resume." The CEO raised an eyebrow but took the paper. Her credentials were innocent: good at making friends, can fix sad days, excellent at remembering birthdays. Then the last line written in a different, neater hand. "Lily wanted to bring this to you herself. Her mother, Claire, always said you saved her life when you gave her a job. Before the cancer came back, she made me promise to help Lily follow her dreams." He read it again. Claire. He remembered her, quiet, diligent, full of grace. He hadn't noticed when she stopped coming in. Too busy. Too buried in profits and projections. Now, her daughter stood in front of him, unknowingly holding a mirror to the man he had become and the man he had once tried to be. Without a word, he stood up, walked around the desk, and knelt beside Lily. He handed her his pen. "Let's add something to that resume," he said. "How about the girl who reminded the boss why he started all this?" From that day forward, the CEO changed, not overnight, but deeply. He began to listen more. Care more. Give more. Because one little resume didn't just apply for a job, it rewrote a man's story.